Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the quantum resonance chamber, feeling the subtle vibrations that meant her life's work was functioning perfectly. The zero-point energy harvester hummed with an efficiency that would have been impossible just 5 years ago, before humanity joined the Galactic Council. Around her, the research station's pristine corridors buzzed with the quiet activity of breakthrough science happening in real time. "Still talking to your machines, mi amor?" Elena turned to find Cale Thorne leaning against the lab doorway, his diplomatic uniform crisp despite the long day of council sessions. Even after 3 years together, the sight of him still made her heart skip. His dark eyes held that mixture of exhaustion and determination that had become all too familiar lately. "The machines listen better than the council these days," Elena replied, stepping into his arms. The warmth of his embrace was a welcome contrast to the lab's sterile environment. "How bad was it today?" Cale's jaw tightened. "The Vorthak delegation walked out during your presentation. Again. They're calling our quantum AI development an existential threat to established galactic order." He ran his hands through Elena's dark hair, a gesture that had become both comfort and habit. "Ambassador Chen thinks we're looking at a formal censure vote within the week." Elena pulled back to study his face. 3 months ago, Cale had been optimistic about humanity's place in the galactic community. Now worry lines creased his forehead, and she could see the weight of impossible diplomatic situations in his shoulders. "They're afraid," she said simply. "In 50 years of council membership, no species has advanced technologically as fast as we have. The hegemony took 3 centuries to develop faster-than-light communication. We did it in 18 months. Maybe we should have slowed down," Cale murmured. Though they both knew it was impossible, humanity's curiosity was as fundamental as breathing. The lab's communication array chimed with an incoming priority message. Elena reluctantly left Cale's arms to answer it, her stomach dropping as she recognized the sender. Council Science Oversight. "Dr. Vasquez," came the synthetic voice of the Council's AI moderator. "You are hereby notified that Emergency Resolution 847 has passed by a margin of 67%. All human-developed technology utilizing quantum consciousness matrices, zero-point energy manipulation, or trans-dimensional mathematics is hereby classified as restricted. You have 72 hours to cease all related research and surrender relevant materials to Council authorities." The message ended, leaving them in stunned silence. Elena felt as if the station's artificial gravity had failed, leaving her floating in space. 5 years of breakthrough research technologies that could revolutionize medicine, energy production, and space travel, all banned with a single vote. "Elena." Cale reached for her, but she was already moving, her hands flying over the lab's control interfaces. "Help me," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos in her mind. "We need to download everything. Research notes, experimental data, theoretical frameworks. If they want our technology banned, fine, but they don't get to destroy the knowledge." For the next 6 hours they worked in determined silence, copying decades of human scientific advancement onto encrypted storage drives. Other researchers throughout the station were doing the same, their faces grim but resolute. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council in good faith, sharing their discoveries freely. The Council's response was to treat them like a threat. As dawn broke over the station's observation deck, Kyle found Elena staring out at the swirling nebula that housed the Council's capital. She leaned against him, exhaustion finally overtaking the adrenaline that had sustained her through the night. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we go home," Kyle said, his diplomat's training keeping his voice steady. "The president's already issued the withdrawal order. We're pulling out of all council territories, recalling our ambassadors, closing our trade routes." Elena nodded slowly. She had expected this, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a physical blow. "They'll regret this decision someday." Kyle tightened his arms around her. "Maybe, but that's their choice to make." As their ship prepared for departure the next day, Elena took one last look at the quantum resonance chamber. The technology that could have ushered in a new age of galactic prosperity now sat dark and silent, its potential locked away by fear and politics. "Don't worry," she whispered to the dormant machines. "This isn't goodbye. It's just until later." The stars beyond the viewport seemed to pulse with promise and warning in equal measure. Commander Arya Blake stood on the bridge of the UES Constellation, watching the last human transport vessels disappear into hyperspace. After 18 months of careful, methodical withdrawal from Council space, humanity was finally coming home. The irony wasn't lost on her. They were fleeing from the very civilizations they had once hoped to call allies. "Final headcount, Commander," Lieutenant Jackson Cross reported from his station, his fingers dancing across the holographic displays. Even in the midst of this historic retreat, Arya found herself distracted by the way his brow furrowed in concentration, the careful precision of his movements. 3 years serving together had done nothing to diminish her attraction to her second-in-command. "Speak, Lieutenant," she said, forcing herself to focus on duty rather than the way his uniform fit across his shoulders. 743. Personnel evacuated from Council territories. 12 research stations dismantled and relocated. All classified technology successfully secured. Jackson's eyes met hers across the bridge. "We're officially ghosts, Commander," Arya nodded grimly. President Harrison had been clear in her directives. Humanity would comply with the Council's demands, but on their own terms. If the galaxy wanted them gone, they would disappear so completely that their absence would be felt in every sector. "Set course for the Titan shipyards," she ordered. "Time to see what we can build when nobody's watching." As the Constellation entered hyperspace, Arya retreated to her quarters, surprised to find Jackson waiting outside her door with 2 cups of coffee and an expression she couldn't quite read. "I thought you might want company," he said simply. Arya took the offered cup, inhaling the rich aroma. Real coffee was becoming a luxury now that trade routes with Council worlds were severed. "Shouldn't you be celebrating? You've been arguing for years that humanity was too dependent on alien approval." Jackson stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. "I never wanted it to happen like this. Exile wasn't what I had in mind." "Then what did you have in mind?" The question came out softer than she intended, loaded with implications that had nothing to do with galactic politics. For a moment, the professional barrier between them wavered. Jackson's hand found her cheek, thumb tracing the line of her jaw. "I had a lot of things in mind, Arya. Most of them involved you." Before she could respond, he kissed her, gentle at first, then deeper as she melted into his arms. Years of suppressed attraction and shared danger crystallized into this moment, the taste of coffee and longing on his lips. When they finally broke apart, Arya rested her forehead against his. "Jax, we can't, the regulations were written by the Council, we just told to go to hell," he murmured against her hair. "I think we can make our own rules now." 6 months later, the Titan shipyards hummed with activity unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Free from Council oversight and technological restrictions, human ingenuity exploded into new dimensions of possibility. Dr. Elena Vasquez's quantum consciousness research had evolved into AI systems that bordered on true sentience. Zero-point energy had been refined to power entire star systems. Most remarkably, trans-dimensional mathematics had unlocked technologies that seemed like magic to outside observers. Arya watched from the command center as the first of humanity's new vessels took shape, sleek, predatory designs that incorporated technology decades ahead of anything in Council space. These weren't just ships. They were works of art, poetry written in steel and energy. Impressive, isn't it? Jackson joined her at the observation window, his hand finding hers naturally. Their relationship had deepened during the Exodus months, built on shared purpose and the intimacy of creating something entirely new. "Terrifying is more like it," Arya replied honestly. "We're building weapons that could reshape the galaxy. The Council was right to be afraid." "Are you having second thoughts?" Arya considered the question. Below them, construction drones swarmed over the hull of what would become humanity's flagship, a vessel capable of feats that violated several supposed laws of physics. In the distance, other projects pushed the boundaries even further. Research into consciousness transfer, reality manipulation, technologies that touched the very fabric of space-time. "No," she said finally. "But I understand now why they banned our technology. We're not just advancing. We're evolving into something they can't comprehend or control." Jackson squeezed her hand. "Good. Let them wonder what we're becoming out here. In the dark. Maybe next time they'll think twice before trying to cage human ambition." As if summoned by their conversation, Elena Vasquez appeared on the command deck, her face glowing with the excitement of breakthrough discovery. Behind her, Kale carried a datapad that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. "Arya, you need to see this," Elena said breathlessly. "We've cracked trans-dimensional energy storage. We can now power a dreadnought with something the size of a coffee cup. But that's not the remarkable part." "There's more?" Arya asked, though Elena's manic grin suggested the answer was obvious. "We've detected something," Kyle said, his diplomatic training keeping his voice level despite the magnitude of what he was reporting. "Our new sensors are picking up patterns in deep space, organized, purposeful, and spreading toward populated systems. Something's coming, and it's not natural." Arya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the command center's climate control. "How long do we have?" 6 months, maybe less, before it reaches the Outer Council territories, Elena said. "Whatever it is, it's consuming everything in its path. Matter, energy, even quantum information. The Council's technology won't even slow it down, Consul." Grip on Arya's hand tightened. "And ours?" Elena's smile turned predatory. "Ours might be the only thing that can stop it." Ambassador Vera Santos stood in her private office on Luna Station, watching emergency broadcasts from across the galaxy with growing horror. The stellar blight, as the news networks had dubbed it, wasn't just destroying civilizations. It was unmaking them, reducing entire star systems to empty void as if they had never existed. The hegemony's third fleet just vanished, Chief Engineer Rio Mendez reported from his position at her desk's secondary console. Even after 2 years of marriage, Vera still felt a thrill when he worked beside her, his capable hands moving across controls with the same gentle precision he used when touching her skin. No distress calls, no wreckage. One moment they were there, the next, nothing. Vera leaned against him, drawing comfort from his solid presence. The blight had been spreading for 3 months now, and each day brought news of fresh catastrophes. The Vorthak Collective, those same aliens who had demanded humanity's exile, had lost 12 colony worlds. The ancient crystalline kingdoms whose technology had seemed eternal were retreating to their innermost systems. "Any response from the Council?" Rio asked, though they both knew the answer. "Silence," Vera replied. "President Harrison's offered assistance twice. They've ignored us both times." She pulled up the latest intelligence reports, holographic displays showing the blight's inexorable advance. "Pride's going to kill them all." Rio turned in his chair, capturing her hands in his. "And what about us? What happens when this thing reaches human space?" Instead of answering immediately, Vera kissed him, fierce and desperate, as if she could pour all her love and fear into that single moment. When they broke apart, she rested her forehead against his, breathing in his familiar scent. Elena's teams have been working around the clock, she said finally. "The new quantum shielding might protect our core systems, but Rio, if this blight is what we think it is, if it's some kind of trans-dimensional predator, then our technology might be the only thing in the galaxy that can fight it." Before Rio could respond, Vera's communication array lit up with an emergency priority signal, the highest classification in human diplomatic protocol. She activated the channel and President Harrison's image materialized above her desk. "Vera, we just received a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to talk." The message from the Council arrived 6 hours later, transmitted on frequencies that hadn't been used since humanity's exodus. Vera read it 3 times before the words truly sank in. "To the human government, the Galactic Council formally requests immediate diplomatic consultation regarding the current galactic crisis. Previous technological restrictions are hereby suspended, pending emergency cooperation protocols. We await your response with utmost urgency. Requests, Rio read over her shoulder, his voice laden with irony. Not demands or requires, they're actually asking this time. Vera couldn't help but smile, though the expression felt bitter. Fear makes everyone diplomatic eventually. The response came from Earth within hours. A single human vessel would be dispatched to Council Space carrying Ambassador Santos and a small technical team. No promises were made about cooperation or assistance. Humanity would evaluate the situation and respond as they saw fit. As Vera prepared for departure, she found herself in their shared quarters with Rio, packing for a mission that might be the most important diplomatic contact in galactic history. The weight of responsibility was crushing, but Rio's presence made it bearable. "I should be going with you," he said, watching her fold clothes with military precision. "You're needed here. If the blight reaches human space while I'm gone, our defenses will need their best engineer." She paused in her packing, studying his face. "Besides, someone needs to take care of our little secret." Rio's hand moved instinctively to her stomach where their child grew, a pregnancy they'd discovered just weeks before the blight appeared. In the midst of galactic catastrophe, life persisted, hope endured. "Promise me you'll be careful," he whispered against her hair. "Both of you. Promise me you'll be here when I get back," she replied, sealing the vow with a kiss that tasted of tears and determination. The journey to Council Space took 4 days, during which reports of the blight's advance grew increasingly desperate. The Aquarian depths, an entire sector of water worlds, had simply ceased to exist. The silicon mines, artificial intelligences older than human civilization, had transmitted a single message before falling silent. It hungers for consciousness itself. When Vera's ship finally dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates provided by the Council, she gasped at what awaited them. The mighty capital station that had once housed 1 trillion beings was now a hollow shell, its outer rings dark and empty. Only the central core showed signs of life, and even that seemed dimmed. "My God," whispered Dr. Maya Chen, the quantum physicist accompanying Vera's delegation. "What happened here?" "The same thing that's happening everywhere," Vera replied grimly. "They're dying, and they know it." As their shuttle approached the docking bay, Vera felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. Humanity had been cast out as dangerous primitives, their technology banned as too threatening for galactic stability. Now that same technology might be the galaxy's only hope for survival. The irony was almost poetic. Almost. Captain Luna Torres had always prided herself on maintaining perfect composure, but as her ship, the UES Redemption, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Council Space, even she couldn't suppress a sharp intake of breath. Where once a thriving trade hub had bustled with ships from 100 species, only wreckage remained. The stellar blight had been here. "Navigator status report," she commanded, though her eyes remained fixed on Navigator Orion Steele. 5 years ago, they had been lovers, partners in exploration and passion. 5 years ago, he had chosen his career over their relationship, accepting a posting that took him to the far rim while she remained in Sol system. Now, thrown together by galactic crisis, the tension between them was palpable. "Blight signature is fresh," Orion reported, his voice professionally neutral despite the way his eyes lingered on her profile. "Whatever hit this system did so within the last 72 hours. The quantum decay patterns are still active." Luna nodded, forcing herself to focus on the mission rather than memories of Orion's hands tangled in her hair, his whispered promises in the darkness of their shared quarters. "Time to the Council capital? 18 hours at maximum safe speed," he replied. Then quieter. "Luna, we need to talk." "No," she said flatly. "We don't. We have a job to do." But as the Redemption pushed deeper into Council Space, passing system after system consumed by the blight's inexplicable hunger, Luna found maintaining her professional distance increasingly difficult. When they stopped to investigate a distress signal from a hegemony research station, working together in the ruins of alien civilization, old patterns reasserted themselves. "This is fascinating," Orion murmured, running his scanner over what had once been a quantum computer core. "The blight doesn't just destroy, it unweaves reality itself. Look at these readings." Luna moved closer to examine his data, close enough to smell his cologne, to feel the warmth radiating from his body. Despite everything that had happened between them, despite the years of silence and hurt, her body still responded to his proximity. "The quantum signatures are completely scrambled," she observed, trying to ignore the way his breath stirred her hair. "It's like something reached into the fundamental structure of matter and just turned it off." Their eyes met across the scanner display, and Luna saw her own memory reflected in his gaze. Late nights in the observatory, mapping star systems while their hands found each other in the darkness, making love under alien constellations while planning futures that never came to pass. "Luna," Orion started, but she stepped back, professional armor sliding back into place. "We should return to the ship. The Council is waiting." The capital system, when they reached it, was a testament to desperation. Ships from across the galaxy crowded around the central station. Ancient dreadnoughts, diplomatic vessels, even merchant traders pressed into emergency service. The mighty Galactic Council, reduced to a refugee fleet fleeing an enemy they couldn't comprehend. "UES Redemption, this is Council Traffic Control," came the transmission as they approached. "You are cleared for immediate docking at Executive Bay 7. The full Council is waiting." Luna exchanged glances with Orion. "The full Council? For us?" The docking bay was a spectacle of barely controlled chaos. Alien dignitaries who had once treated humans as dangerous upstarts now watched the redemption with expressions of desperate hope. As Luna and her small team disembarked, the crowd parted with a reverence that would have been unthinkable 5 years ago. The council chambers had been hastily relocated to the station's core, a cramped space that forced beings of vastly different physiologies into uncomfortable proximity. At the center of it all sat Counselor Vexhai of the Hegemony, the same alien who had cast the deciding vote to ban human technology. "Captain Torres," Vexhai began, his synthesized voice carrying notes of exhaustion and defeat. That is, the Council formally requests, begs," interrupted Counselor Thrain of the Crystalline Kingdoms, her crystalline form flickering with desperation. "We beg for humanity's assistance. The blight has consumed 60% of known galactic civilization. Our fleets are destroyed. Our worlds are empty. We face extinction." Luna studied the assembled representatives, beings who had commanded respect and fear across the galaxy, now reduced to pleading with the species they had exiled. The temptation to let them suffer for their arrogance was almost overwhelming. Instead, she activated her communication array, broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. "This is Captain Luna Torres of the United Earthship Redemption," she began, her voice carrying to every ship in the system. "You banned our technology because you feared we would dominate you. You cast us out because our rapid advancement threatened your established order. You chose pride over cooperation, fear over friendship." The chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems struggling to maintain atmosphere for dozens of different species. "But we are not you," Luna continued. "We choose hope over hatred, curiosity over fear. The human fleet will arrive within 6 hours. We will share our technology, our knowledge, our strength, not because you deserve it, but because it is who we are." As if summoned by her words, the redemption sensors detected the massive quantum signatures of the human fleet, dropping out of hyperspace. 50 ships materialized, sleek, predatory vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls, their very presence radiating power that dwarfed anything in council space. "We warned you this day would come," Luna said, her words echoing Ambassador Vera Santos's transmission from months earlier. "The question now is, are you finally ready to listen?" Later, as diplomatic teams scrambled to establish cooperation protocols, Luna found herself alone on the observation deck with Orion. The human fleet hung in space beyond the viewport like sleeping dragons, beautiful and terrible in their power. I was wrong, Orion said quietly. 5 years ago, when I chose my career over us, I thought exploration was more important than love. I thought I could find something among the stars more valuable than what we had. Luna turned to face him, seeing not the navigator steel but the man she had loved, the partner who had shared her dreams of distant worlds and impossible futures. Did you, she asked, find something more valuable? He stepped closer, close enough to touch, close enough to kiss. No, I found emptiness. I found that all the wonders of the galaxy mean nothing if you have no one to share them with. This time, when he reached for her, Luna didn't pull away. Their kiss was desperate and fierce, flavored with 5 years of regret and the possibility of redemption. Around them, the galaxy burned with alien hunger, but in that moment they created their own universe, small, perfect, and infinite with possibility. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the quantum command nexus, her hands dancing across controls that hadn't existed 6 months ago. Around her, the greatest minds from human and alien civilizations worked in unprecedented cooperation. Their combined knowledge focused on a single goal: stopping the stellar blight before it consumed what remained of galactic civilization. Quantum field generators are at optimal capacity, reported Thexmill, a crystalline kingdom scientist whose prismatic form had become a familiar sight in the lab. Your technology exceeds all theoretical models, Dr. Vasquez. Elena smiled, remembering. When such admission from an alien scientist would have been unthinkable, the blight had a way of making old prejudices seem irrelevant. Credit where it's due, Thexmill. Your crystalline matrix calculations made the field coherent. This is what we can accomplish together. Across the lab, Kale coordinated with diplomatic teams from 17 species, his natural charm and hard-won experience bridging gaps that had seemed insurmountable just months ago. Elena watched him work, admiring the way he made even the most stubborn hegemony officials feel heard and valued. Tonight would mark their reunion after 6 months of crisis management, and she found herself counting the hours until they could be alone together. Elena. Captain Luna Torres entered the lab with Navigator Orion Steele, both wearing expressions of barely contained excitement. The prototype worked. We just returned from the Terminus sector, ground zero of the original blight manifestation. Your quantum disruptor completely neutralized the infection. Elena felt her knees weaken with relief. Months of theoretical work, countless sleepless nights, technology pushed beyond every safety limit. And it had worked. Show me the data. As Orion uploaded the sensor readings, Elena studied the quantum signatures with growing amazement. The blight they had discovered was less an invasion than an infection, a transdimensional parasite that fed on consciousness itself, growing stronger with each mind it consumed. Traditional weapons were useless because the blight existed partially outside normal space-time. Human technology, however, had evolved differently. Elena's quantum consciousness research had created artificial minds that existed in similar transdimensional spaces. Her zero-point energy systems drew power from the same dimensional layers the blight inhabited. Most crucially, human transdimensional mathematics had unlocked the ability to weaponize reality itself. The disruptor works by creating a quantum resonance cascade in the blight's dimensional matrix, Elena explained to the assembled team. Essentially, we're using its own feeding mechanism against it, forcing it to consume itself. But the power requirements are enormous, finished Ambassador Vera Santos, who had become the de facto coordinator between human and council forces. Her pregnancy was beginning to show now, a visible symbol of hope in a galaxy facing extinction. Each disruptor deployment drains the equivalent of a star's annual energy output, which is why we need the full cooperation of every remaining fleet, added Commander Aria Blake, who had assumed tactical command of the combined galactic defense forces. One ship can clear a sector. A coordinated strike can cleanse entire spiral arms. Over the following weeks, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented. Total cooperation between species that had viewed each other as rivals or threats for millennia. Human ships, their hulls gleaming with forbidden technology, worked alongside ancient alien dreadnoughts. Hegemony battle groups followed tactical plans created by human strategists. Crystalline Kingdom scientists collaborated with Earth researchers on projects that pushed the boundaries of known physics. The cleansing of the galaxy proceeded system by system, each victory bought with enormous resources and coordinated effort. But slowly, inexorably, the blight retreated before the combined might of unified galactic civilization. Elena found herself working 20-hour days, pushing the disruptor technology to its limits and beyond. It was during one such marathon session that Kale finally confronted her about her health. "When did you last eat?" he asked, appearing beside her workstation with a plate of food and an expression of loving concern. "Or sleep? Or remember that you're human, not a machine?" "The galaxy is depending on," Elena began, but Kyle silenced her with a kiss that tasted of coffee and determination. "The galaxy is depending on all of us," he murmured against her lips, "including you taking care of yourself. We're going to win this, Elena, but I need you alive to see it." She melted into his arms, suddenly aware of how exhausted she was, how much she had missed his touch during the months of crisis. "Promise me something," she whispered. "Anything. When this is over, when the blight is defeated and the galaxy is safe, marry me. Not the diplomat, not the scientist, just marry me." Kale's answer was another kiss, deeper and more passionate than the first, full of promise and future and love that had survived everything the universe could throw at them. The final battle came 6 months later, at the edge of the galactic core where the blight had massed for what appeared to be a last desperate assault. Every functioning ship in known space converged on the battlefield. Human vessels with their reality-bending technology working alongside the greatest fleet in galactic history. Elena watched from the UES Harmony's bridge as hundreds of quantum disruptors fired in perfect synchronization, their combined energy output briefly rivaling the galactic core itself. The blight writhed and shrieked across dimensions, its alien hunger finally turned against itself as cascading quantum failures consumed its transdimensional matrix. When the light faded, the blight was gone. Not just defeated, but completely erased from existence. The galaxy was free. 1 year later, Elena Vasquez Thorne stood in the gardens of New Geneva, Earth, watching her husband practice his wedding speech for the 3rd time that morning. Around them, delegates from across the galaxy had gathered for the formal signing of the new Galactic Accords, a treaty that established humanity not as conquerors, but as partners in a truly cooperative galactic civilization. "Nervous?" she asked, adjusting Kale's formal diplomatic collar. "Terrified," he admitted. "Easy to negotiate with aliens who want to kill you. Much harder to negotiate with ones who want to thank you." Elena laughed, the sound carrying across gardens where human children played alongside young aliens, where species that had been enemies now planned joint research projects and cultural exchanges. "I think we'll manage." In the distance, she could see other couples from their extended family, Luna Torres and Orion Steele comparing notes on their latest exploration mission, Aria Blake and Jackson Cross discussing plans for the new integrated Fleet Academy, Vera Santos and Rio Mendez playing with their infant daughter while planning the construction of the first truly integrated research station. The stellar blight was gone, but its legacy lived on, not as destruction, but as the catalyst that had finally united the galaxy in common purpose. Humanity's forbidden technology had become the foundation of a new age of cooperation and discovery. As the ceremony began, and representatives from 100 worlds formally committed to the new galactic order, Elena felt Kale take her hand. Together, they watched the dawn of an era where the stars themselves seemed brighter, where the impossible had become inevitable, and where love, between individuals and between civilizations, had proven stronger than fear. The galaxy was vast, and full of wonders yet to be discovered, and for the first time in its history, all its children would explore those wonders together.